This Maniwaki sawmill, leaving dozens of families without paychecks and no answers. And at the center of it all, Prime Minister, as per usual, Carney, who's being called out for focusing on global posturing. He should just stop that. All the while as Canada's economy is crumbling back home. I'm going to break it all down and more. So, let's get started.
One of the world's largest forestry companies is cutting its lumber output in North America for the rest of the year. Interfor operates 5 sites in the Northeast, from Sault Ste. Marie to Elk Lake. It's unknown what this means for each location, but union officials say we need a trade deal with the U.S. before these slowdowns become the norm. CTV's Corey Nordstrom has more.
In an official media release, Interfor announced that from September to December, they will reduce lumber production in North America by 145 million board feet, or roughly 12% of normal operations. In the Northeast, the company has sites in the Sioux, Gogama, Timmins, Nairn Centre, and Elk Lake. Unifor reps for the Sioux mill say there has already been workforce reductions of varying types across most mills. Those in the Sioux affected a third of employees and are set to end on September 8th.
There was around 60 workers that weren't impacted, mostly in trades and the senior shifts. And then the other shift were junior workers. They took every second week off, collected unemployment, and then ran a production week. So the total impact over a 2-month period was around 3 or 4 weeks of downtime on EI, but they weren't totally laid off for that period of time.
Interfor officials declined an interview, but the media release stated that they would enact production curtailments through a combination of reduced operating hours, prolonged holiday breaks, reconfigured shifting schedules, and extended maintenance shutdowns. It's also noted that this is a result of persistently weak market conditions and ongoing economic uncertainty.
There's always going to be recessions and there are always going to be slowdowns. I think the frustrating thing is that so much faith has been put in the relationship between Canada and the U.S. over the last number of years, and to see your best friend turn on you and create an economic crisis to try to hurt you, that's a little bit disheartening to everybody.
Boone does not know the exact plans for how workers in the Sioux will be impacted by the latest decision from their company, but remains optimistic this doesn't stretch beyond the end of the year and hopes government action can help the badly wounded softwood lumber industry.
If Trump implements more tariffs on other than the softwood lumber duties that we're currently facing on, say, pulp and paper or OSB, obviously then we're going to have to react, and we're also going to have to react as a country and as a government to retaliate or to put pressure on the Americans to try to reach some kind of compromise.
Corey Nordstrom, CTV News, Sault Ste.
As you just watched, Interfor's announcement has sent shockwaves through the industry. This isn't some minor mill trimming a shift or two. This is one of North America's largest lumber producers scaling back across the board. Ontario mills are being idled. American operations are cutting production, and hundreds of millions of board are being pulled out of the supply chain. Like, for the workers, the impact is immediate. Shortened hours, layoffs, communities that depend on forestry are now left staring at silent machines, empty parking lots. Families who spent generations in lumber are now wondering if their livelihoods have a future at all. Why is it happening? Well, the short answer, the housing market. With interest rates really high and inflation driving up costs, new construction is slowing to a crawl. Demand for lumber isn't there, it's falling. And companies like Interfor are being forced to scale back. And here's the difference, though. In the United States, even with production cuts, there's confidence that the economy will adapt. New markets are showing up, more and more buyers, and more deals are being done. Workers know the pain is real, but they also hear leadership projecting strength. They know and they trust that Trump knows what he's doing, and he's proven it so far. In Canada, under Mark Carney, there's nothing. There's no plan. There's no reassurance. He's been too busy doing all that stuff, and on top of that, talking about global trade fights and fighter jets. To notice that one of Canada's core industries is buckling under his watch. And, check this out. Did you hear that? It's exactly what we've been saying all along. Interfor's decision isn't about lumber, it's about leadership. And right now, Canada doesn't have any. Mark Carney loves to present himself as the steady hand, the former banker who knows what he's doing. Well, if you look past all that, the photo ops, the reality on the ground is very different. Inflation is still hot, running high. Families are stretched thin, paying more and more. Stress is rising. Like gas, food, housing. It's all higher than ever before. Debt levels are climbing. And instead of tackling the problems, Carney's been abroad. I just said it earlier. Wooing Davos elites, talking about green deals and fighter jets and trying to lock in deals with Germany and European Union, posturing about military power and trying to cast himself as a global statesman.
Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada will act to protect jobs and diversify markets for industries heavily impacted by tariffs. Canada's softwood lumber industry is among those taking a big hit.
35% on lumber going across the line is just ridiculous. There's over 250 small manufacturing family-run companies like us in BC. It's going to kill thousands of jobs.
The U.S. Commerce Department is nearly tripling anti-dumping duties on Canadian softwood lumber. The U.S. lumber industry is applauding this move to penalize Canadian producers, saying Canadians engaged in predatory pricing and receive unfair government subsidies.
There it is, the problem. You can't build a reputation overseas while your economy is in the dumps. Interfor's cuts showing some Big problems, and it's spreading through Canada's industrial base. Forestry is joining alcohol as another sector sliding into decline under his watch. And it's not just about lost jobs. When mills close, entire towns suffer. Schools lose funding, small businesses dry up. The effect hollows out communities until there's nothing left but boarded up storefronts and frustration and heartbreak. That's the reality. Canadians are living with this. And the longer it goes on, the longer Carney avoids this, the worse it's going to get, because this isn't about one company pulling back. It's not about just one industry slowing down production. It is a big sign of where the country is headed if leadership doesn't change course. As if the economic fallout wasn't enough, Carney is now staring down growing protests from Indigenous leaders over forestry practices, and at the center of the fight is the widespread use of herbicide-spraying chemicals that communities say are contaminating the land, harming wildlife, and putting human health at risk. Governments in Ottawa promised consultation and safeguards, but under Carney, those promises have faded into silence. Indigenous groups have been left to organize demonstrations, demand answers, and call out industries already on the ropes. And instead of diffusing the tension, Carney's let it just boil over. He's like not even there, leaving forestry companies stuck between environmental pushback and collapsing markets.
He's attacking Canadian families, workers, and businesses, and we cannot let him succeed.
All I know is this: we're going to take in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs, and we're going to become so rich, you're not going to know where to spend all that money. I'm telling you, you just watch.
But right now, the threat of lumber tariffs is prompting unpredictability and fear in the construction industry.
Retailers having difficulty keeping quotes with the builders. Builders are getting stressed out because they can't promise a solid price to their customers. So there's a big fear out there that things are going to slow down in a hurry.
Many in the industry are already drawing similarities between President Trump's lumber tariff threat and the pandemic-era supply chain crisis. Dealers say the threat alone has already led to a spike in lumber prices, uncertainty in guaranteeing supply, and customers canceling orders due to high prices.
Products that they know must come from Canada, they've tried to hoard as much as they can.
The Northeastern Retail Lumber Association says a lumber tariff will cut both ways.
We grow our timber here, we send it over the border for milling, and then it comes back to us with a tariff on it. That's very impractical.
Rita Fair says a lumber trade war is bound to hurt Canada and Maine.
Mills will close down because who's going to buy it at that price? And that's going to create supply issues, which is going to drive up the price of everything else.
Brad Rogers, CBS 13 News.
The result? More uncertainty, investors hesitating, mills stalling, workers are leaving, and trying to figure out what to do and staring at fewer and fewer options. This is a triple hit. It's devastating. Economic decline, social unrest, and political paralysis. Meanwhile, Carney's instinct is the same as always: stall, deflect, and move on to the next international headline. Canada doesn't care. They see it differently. They see a leader who can't manage the basics, who talks big and fails even bigger, ignoring communities in a crisis, and the contrast is growing sharper and more painful. Because south of the border, Canada's right there. They just look and go, oh, why can't we have that? Trump uses moments like this to project decisiveness, and Carney hesitates. Trump acts. They're worlds apart. That's why this comparison keeps on hurting Ottawa, and why Carney's grip at home is slipping by the day. When Interfor announced its cuts, the reaction on both sides of the border couldn't have been more different. In Canada, the story was framed as another blow to a fragile economy, on the verge of collapsing entirely, with no clear path forward. In the United States, under Trump's leadership, the message was Trump wasted no time turning a setback into a show of strength. He reminded allies that America doesn't fold when markets shift. It adapts. He talked about finding new buyers, opening new deals, and keeping the United States at the center of the global supply chain. The optics matter as much as the policy. Even when U.S. mills scaling back, even with that happening, Trump projected confidence. The people of America trust Trump because he did it before. He made it clear that America is in control of its own destiny, and it's a strong nation. And compare that to Carney? Trump speaks with certainty. Carney is dithering on and failing, and Trump is setting the narrative abroad. Carney is losing control at home. One leader uses challenges to prove strength. The other is, he just doesn't even know he doesn't know what he's doing. It's insane. And every time that contrast plays out, Canada's weakness looks even bigger. This is the power of leadership, guys. The U.S. economy isn't immune to downturns, but with Trump framing the story, Americans believe in his ability and their ability to recover. In Canada, under Carney, people see nothing but drift. No vision, no answers, just silence while industries collapse, and that's why this isn't about lumber, it's about credibility. Trump still has trust. Carney never does, and now never will. Just as Canadians were reeling from Interfor's announcement, another hit landed. Domtar confirmed it was suspending operations at its sawmill. In Quebec, on paper, the numbers look smaller, about 80 workers sidelined, but on the ground, it's devastating.
Well, it is a tough blow for Maniwaki. Domtar announced it will idle its sawmill this fall, leaving 80 workers and the community struggling with what comes next. The Domtar sawmill is located in Maniwaki, Quebec, 130 kilometers north of downtown Ottawa. CTV's Tyler Fleming reports.
What was once a steady grain in Maniwaki has snapped under pressure.
We're a small town. It's a good place for to work and